7:18 on the Matt and Craig program. Time for my cousin Adam Calvert calling in. Aloha, Adam. How are you?
Aloha. How you doing?
Good, good. You ever seen the movie Rainmaker?
Rainmaker. Oh, yeah. Is that the one with Matt Damon?
Yeah, it's got Matt Damon, Danny Glover, Danny DeVito, Mickey Rourke.
Is that about a bunch of guys hanging out in a strip club?
No, not Making It Rain. Rainmaker. I thought, because I watched it last night. I thought maybe you'd seen it because it's about Matt Damon as a lawyer. It's one of his first movies, and he's a lawyer with a big heart, and he wants to change the world. And the thing about that movie to me is that it was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, so it was a great 5-time Academy Award winning director, amazing cast, and a movie. It was okay plot, and everything. But the thing about movies that were made in the late '80s and early ’90s. Is that no matter how good they are, they all have the most annoying and irritating soundtrack that you can imagine. Just that with all those movies that you watch back then, there's some kind of music playing in the background throughout the entire movie in every single scene, and it just kind of
it's like that high-pitched piano key.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, because it's only recently that they stopped doing soundtracks throughout entire movies. Then you go way back in the '50s and '60s, they had a soundtrack throughout the entire movie, but it was orchestra music, and it was kind of cool. But then they got this cheesy. No matter what the scene is, no matter how serious, it's this cheesy kind of really '80s music in the background, and it just takes me out of the element. It's like if you meet a really attractive woman with an ugly smile. It's just kind of, you want to like the whole package, but there's just something about that quality that just throws you off. So, but now having seen the movie, he's the idealistic lawyer that wants to change the entire world. Forget about money or anything else. Do you find yourself in that sort of character? Is that what you are, Adam Calvert?
No, I think I'm a little too in tune with reality. I think a lot of lawyers, when they go to law school, think about that, and then real world hits.
Yeah, and Adam and I were having a conversation the other week. He does want to do some pro bono work where he's working for free, but that's only so that he can take on cases that will lend him credibility to get on TV.
No, it's because I care about the people, Mar.
You care about the people, but you don't want to. So you don't want to change the world, is what you're saying. You don't care about that.
Well, I mean, I want to change the world, but
he also wants to change his bank account.
Right.
Exactly. That's all. I mean, it's one of those things that just happens when you go through law school and you pass the bar. You kind of change a little bit.
Well, that is a sad, depressing picture you've just painted.
I'm kidding.
I mean, no, you're not. I mean, no, but
it's okay to be honest. It's all right.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty. I do. I mean, it's kind of like DJs. We go through broadcasting school, and by the end of it, we're just kind of like, man, it's all about the money for us and just making millions, And but we went into it wanting to change the world, so I can relate, man. Yeah. Because and plus the training we go through to do this job is very, very similar to what you do.
Years of school.
Exactly. I mean, you guys, 3 years of school and pretty intense tests at the end, right? For a couple of days.
Yeah, it's close, 6 months, and at the end you have to be able to breathe and eat Oreos at the same time, and you can be a DJ. So it's a similar kind of thing. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I can relate, man. I'm with you on that.
All right, let's get into the story I sent you last night. And by the way, you can always check out these episodes after they happen at mycousinadam.com. But here's the story. I'm going to paraphrase this because it's a very long-winded story from MSNBC. But the mother of an 8-year-old Colorado boy is a little upset because her little precious was pepper sprayed by police after he exploded into a violent rage. The incident garnered some national attention back on February 22nd. This happened in the same school district as the Columbine shooting, which doesn't seem like it's relevant, but it may be a little relevant after we're done reading. Aiden, a second grader at the school, suddenly turned on his two teachers. They were both left in the room alone with him. By the time police had arrived, young Aiden was in a full-blown meltdown. He ripped molding from the walls and tossed chairs and TV carts through the classroom. He grabbed a stick and chased his teachers into an office where they locked themselves in. He said he wanted to make something sharp. I was so mad at them. And he also yelled, if you come out, you're going to die. Aiden said he doesn't remember what triggered the rage. I don't know. It's just the way my body goes. When the police arrived, though, they didn't necessarily talk him down. They pepper sprayed him to the ground. So I guess this is a story of, I don't know, how police can react to a situation. Now, obviously, there's probably going to be a lawsuit pending because there's always lawsuits pending. But as far as an excessive force lawsuit is concerned, will the mother have a case in this situation?
Oh, sure. She's got a pretty good case. When you ask whether or not police use excessive force, you look at a few factors. You look at what kind of crime the person was committing, how serious the crime was, whether there was a threat to the safety of the officers or other people, and whether the person was resisting the officers or process of cooperating or trying to flee. So here you have, well, there's not a very serious crime, it wouldn't seem, but I mean, there is a lot of threatening. There's, a possibility of assault. There wasn't much of a threat to others because I think it was just the kid in the room and the officers. There was some sort of threat to the officers. I mean, they could have gotten, I guess, poked with the stick. And then the kid was, I guess, uncooperative. So there was a justification for some sort of force, but the question here might depend on how quickly did they jump to using the pepper spray. Maybe they should have tried to talk him down, do something else first, and then if that didn't work, then go to the pepper spray.
Well, then the question is how much of a threat does an 8-year-old actually pose when he doesn't have a gun or a knife? I mean, he is an 8-year-old, and the other part of this story that I didn't mention is that it's the mom and everybody in the school, they're well aware of this 8-year-old's propensity to fly off the handle. He's actually in a special classroom that's dedicated solely to these kids. So if the school knows that this kid is going to fly into a violent rage at some point, not knowing the trigger, and the police, this is the third time they've dealt with this kid, and both the 2 times before they were successful in calming him down without using any kind of force. I mean, isn't the school a little bit responsible, and aren't the police a little bit responsible for the amount of force that's used, considering they know the history of this kid?
Sure, and here they also, I guess, there's also a special unit or group of police officers that are trained to deal with kids in crisis, and those were the officers that came the first 2 times, and the third time those officers didn't come. So maybe they should have brought those officers instead. I kind of thought of it as like, if you've got a hostage situation, you don't let the beat cop handle the negotiations. You bring in the hostage negotiator. And here you want to bring in those special kind of police officers so that you don't have to use the force of pepper spraying the kid.
Is there a problem with the officers nowadays? And I actually feel for the cops in a lot of these situations that they have maybe too many tools at their disposal that maybe aren't their mind or their hands. I mean, is it easier for them to go and reach for a, quote, non-lethal weapon because of the lawsuits they may face by just simply putting their hands not only on a person but on an 8-year-old?
Sure, I think, but it cuts both ways, though. I mean, in one instance, you could say, well, maybe they should have just used their hands and kind of wrestled the kid down and gotten the stick from him. But in that case, I think there's maybe a bigger risk for breaking the kid's arm or something like that accidentally. In the case of a pepper spray, at least you know what kind of damage it's going to cause, and you know it's going to be minimal, and you know it's just going to be temporary. Maybe pepper spraying isn't as bad as if they would have wrestled the kid down. I think you can argue both sides of that.
Well, pepper spray is a big boy instrument. It's for big boys. And but when you start threatening death on your teachers and trying to make sharp objects to stab them with and saying you're going to kill them, that's big boy stuff. You've now went into big boy terrorizing, menacing, and physical assault. So if you want to be a big boy, you put your big. That's what my mom used to say to me. You put your big boy pants on. You better act like a big boy. It's like when I got off the diapers, and I went into pull-ups. I remember it well. She said, now you have your big boy pants on. You have to act like a big boy. What do big boys do? They pee in the toilet. That's right. And you get a sticker for it. Although big boy, like adults don't get stickers for peeing in the toilet. But either way, point is you put your big boy pants on, and so you get treated like a big boy. I don't really see, I mean, they got there. They judged that it was appropriate to use that level of force because of the way the kid was behaving. And so they used it. It's not like, I mean, I don't think we have to worry about a kind of setting a precedent here. The only precedent that is set is that if you have an absolute demon child that's trying to kill his teachers, he might get pepper sprayed or tased. I don't think that's a terrible precedent to set. It's not going to affect your normal age. It's not going to, next thing you know, the cops are just going around pepper spraying 8-year-olds for talking in church. It's just, if they happen to be homicidal maniacs,
right,
then they might get pepper sprayed, and it's not the best case scenario, but it's already we're in an unfortunate situation. So
yeah, I guess the question is, should age actually factor into a crime as serious as this? I mean, he was threatening with weapons, and he was holding these people hostage. So I mean, how much do you factor age into this scenario?
Well, you do have to factor it in. I mean, think of an 8-year-old kid with a stick. How much damage could he possibly do? How much danger is there to the officers? I mean, not much. I mean, even if that kid whacks you, you're going to be fine. You're just going to be like, geez, kid, come on. And then you're going to grab the stick and you're going to yoke the little 8-year-old up, and it's going to be over.
Now, wait.
But if it's a grown man, you can't just do that.
Well, but hold on a second. We're talking about an 8-year-old. I think that there's a lot of damage that can be done, and there's an argument to be made that they shouldn't come really in physical contact with him because of you're forgetting about cooties.
Yeah.
He might, and sometimes you have a cooties type of situation that, especially at that age, 8, 9, 10,
airborne disease.
It's a very prevalent sort of risk, and so they might have also judged, and they didn't have their gas masks on them at the time, so they might have judged that they had to utilize this because of the cootie risk. Have you considered that, Adam?
Well, aren't adults immune to cooties? Isn't there a point where we don't get cooties anymore?
Well played.
It's debatable. Physicians have debated this for a long time. I don't think that that's true. I think that adults are not necessarily, especially if the child is attempting to weaponize his cooties.
Nah.
As far as just incidental contact, you're probably okay, unless it's a targeted cootie attempt, targeted cootie attack. You can, in fact, get it from children. As my nieces and nephews have tried to give me cooties on occasion, and I've had to fight back forcibly. So,
Well, on a serious note, how do you see this playing out?
Being serious.
I know. I'm sorry, but on a different note, on a criminal note, let's just go that way. How do you see this playing out? You can comment on the cootie factor if you like.
I'll ignore the cootie factor for this analysis. I think if the mother does bring a lawsuit, she's going to be successful. Now, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at the interview with the kid he did on the Today Show, he said that he had set down the stick and then they sprayed him. If that's true, then that kid he's not dangerous anymore. You might still be angry, but he doesn't have the stick anymore. I mean, what's he really going to do at that point? So at that point, it's definitely excessive force to use the pepper spray.
Well, I agree with you. Actually, I was just trying to play devil's advocate, but I was talking about this a few days last week about how cops now, because they have non-lethal ways to completely maim people, they feel very free to use them, and it's especially unfortunate because, at least in the case of tasers, as I was pointing out last week, not only can they use it and it's painful, but it's also hilarious for everyone else that sees it. So we're more accepting of it because there's nothing more hysterical than watching. Especially an overweight person get tased. And so, that is also an unfortunate aspect. Adam Calvert, thank you so much. My cousin Adam, thanks for calling in. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, dude. See ya.